any questions.
Srimati Raman, I will not take much of your time except to briefly share with you our concern as well as our seriousness on the subject of peace establishment. Sri Chaturvedi Swami is the chairman of our trust, Sri Ramanuja Mission Trust, which he had started in the year 2000, and mainly we work in the field of providing thought leadership to society on the various positive directions the society should be taking. And we organize numerous conferences, seminars and workshops. We have been operating mainly within the country of India, and over the course of time we find that there is an urgent need for our vision to get widened and to also address issues which are affecting more and more. Globalization has brought the village, the whole world into a small village, and the impact of every decision of major governments has transcending borders. All geographical borders have become irrelevant, and it's high time that we take a holistic view of the major issues which need to be addressed. And it's from this perspective that we identify peace establishment and correcting the course of thinking of the political leadership of the various influential countries is very important. And there is an amount of disillusionment as well as disappointment with the functioning, with all respect to our United Nations organization in the last 20 years, with despite all the discussions and debates which go on even, actually we do see a lot of disturbances taking place, and there is an amount of sadness that the right decisions, implementation of the right decisions for peace establishment are not able to take place. We do have specific instances of Bosnia, and then Sri Lanka and Rwanda, and quite a number of instances where UN has not been able to effectively implement peace, and we really want to address if there is a need for the non-governmental institutions, because all governments which are representative who are sitting in the United Nations see most of the issues from the prism of their own national interest or from the prism of their own official stated positions of the past, and this restricts their vision to see issues on overall humanity's point of view or mankind's point of view as a whole. And national interest beyond a certain point becomes a blinker for any country to see beyond what happens. And it's from that angle that we consider the non-governmental organizations across the continents need to be energized, need to be sensitized, and the civil society also needs to be sensitized to see that what the respective governments and the United Nations is not able to see or implement, the civil society is able to activate and push their own political leadership and the governments to take counter views, which takes a little more holistic view of the interests of the mankind and humanity as a whole. It is from this angle that our trust decided to participate in the first celebration organizing at Bosnia for the centenary of the First World War, and we consider three important objectives to be addressed there. One is reconciliation. So we are organizing a peace march of women and children across the Bosnian Muslims and the Serbian Christians and the Orthodox Christians of Croatia, all children and women joining together and going on a peace march as a group together and merging together. And this is something which we are planning to do in Bosnia on June 6th. Second program that we are having is to energize the youth. We are organizing a competition among the college students of Bosnia on the significance of youth and how do we take out the root causes of this peace disturbance, like hatred, like fear, or like greediness, or like selfishness. These are the occupying the minds of the people who are the decision makers, which are eventually leading to peace disturbance. How do you uproot all these negative qualities from the minds of people, and what specific actions are needed for doing this? And the third debate that we are going to have in the finals of the speech competition among the college students, just to sensitize them, is how we replant from the minds of people the qualities of compassion, the love, and then conciliation and cooperation, and the tone of forgive and forget. How do you overcome the past? How do you bury the hatchet and look forward and see more the positive opportunities of development if you are able to have that type of perspective? So this is another youth involvement program that we are organizing in Bosnia. And third thing is the corporates who have done a good job in converting from the unethical anti-humanity actions of arms and ammunition to ethical civilian manufacturers, the best of the lot. We want to glorify them outer way so that we convey lessons to the others, the right model that they should be adopted. On a similar basis, in Europe, we respect the soil of Geneva as the embodiment of the human aspirations and ambitions of peace and harmony and amity among nations. For the last hundreds of years, Geneva has been the soil which all these emotions of humanity has descended down, and it has taken shape in so many ways. And this soil should be the place from where the further century of war we have had already. We want to have a century of peace. For that, the new initiative for involving the civil society, it should be starting from here. This is the objective, with the mentorship of International Peace Bureau, with our friend Mr. Colin Archer as our elder brother. We want to proceed on this particular collaborative work, and we want to address the specific nations in the European countries, especially the trade unions who have a say in the opinions, the youth segment, and the women's segment, and the interfaith groups. These are the groups which want to have programs to generate more sensitized people who are able to influence the political parties. So with these objectives, we look forward to any support and cooperation that we can have individually, and we look forward to keep you informed about what further work we are able to do. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chandar. As explained by Colin in his presentation, what you just said is testimony to the fact that there is incredible geographical diversity in these events, and the more diversity there will be, not only and certainly not only in the developed world, but also in the emerging economies and in the global south, the better its effectiveness, their effectiveness and impact. Now, as I said, we'll go to Q&A, and the first one to open the floor will be Alan Ware.
Thanks, Jan. Alan Ware from Parliamentarians for Nuclear Non-Proliferation and Disarmament. So we're parliamentarians around the world. One of the issues we're working on is financing for nuclear weapons and how to shift that. So, for example, our co-president in the United States, Ed Markey, has put forward an act called the SANE Act, Smarter Approach to Nuclear Expenditure, to slash funding for nuclear weapons and put it into renewable energy, job creation, etc. And some of our parliamentarians in other countries like Norway, New Zealand and Switzerland have got legislation to divest public funds from nuclear weapons corporations. I want to thank the three panelists, incredibly inspiring, informative, a lot of analysis, and particularly action. I think we're up against vested interests, which are very powerful. We've got a lot of financing to do publicity and lobbying. We don't have the same resources, but we have great creative ideas, and Colin gave quite a few of those, which were fantastic. And I think these powerful ideas can actually create a lot of support and make a difference, even if we don't have the resources of those who are making the weapons. I had two questions of Colin and one of Jarmo. The questions of Colin's, one on the divestment. I know you raised it, Professor Zayas, but I'm really interested in Colin because you're very engaged with a lot of the civil society communities. Are you seeing the divestment campaigns picking up? That that's going to be something of the global program of International Peace Bureau on military spending? I saw that CIPRI's put forward the 100 top companies that are engaged in this. This is a lot of public sector funding, which your traditional lobbying doesn't have an effect on. Can the divestment campaign actually make a difference? That's a question of Colin. Second question of Colin is you raised about the parliamentarians, but also the difficulties. Parliamentarians raising the issue, I think you mentioned also, Professor Zayas, in the national parliaments, they're up against, again, vested interests. And they have run the risk of being seen as being detrimental to the security of their countries if they're trying to cut military expenditure. Is there a value for parliamentarians to cooperate a lot more in the interparliamentary forums so that when they go back to their countries they can say, it's not just us calling for a cutting of military funding here in New